My name is Gabe Zollner. I just read, actually I saw it on, I guess, Fox News yesterday, and that is that both Washington, the state of Washington, and Colorado have both legalized marijuana. So anyone with 1 ounce of marijuana is free to light up anywhere that they can be allowed to smoke. Now that's really interesting. So, you know, these lawmakers are completely out of their minds, and here's why. Since it's legal to smoke marijuana in both Washington and Colorado, then what happens when an employee comes to work and he's completely loaded? Because it's legal to get loaded. I mean, 1 ounce of marijuana will load up anybody, I believe. So he comes to work and he's loaded. Now, since it's legal to smoke, they're not breaking any laws. So what happens? Now, let's say you're going off to the airport and you notice the pilots walk by in one of those states and their eyes are sort of glazed over. Well, it's legal to smoke. They didn't break any laws. So does that mean they can get on an airplane stoned and have 200 or 300 people behind them? I mean, these lawmakers are completely out of their minds. They're going to have to make a whole new series of laws. Somebody gets into a car accident and they kill people because they're stoned, because it's legal to smoke. They didn't break any laws. It's legal to smoke. So what happens? I mean, these people do not think things through. And the reason they don't think things through is they're too concerned about getting reelected for office. So they'll go by the will of the people. You know, it's no different than what I understand Obama is doing right now. He's bringing in a lot of new judges, federal judges, and they're homosexual judges. So what do you think they're going to do in the states that don't allow gays to marry? I mean, this is completely crazy. I mean, you know, I have heard of idiotic decisions that some policymakers put into effect, but allowing people to light up and smoke marijuana and have 1 ounce of marijuana on them at any time is not illegal? What precedence does that set for our children? You know what this reminds me of? And this reminds me of the Chinese thousands of years ago. People would have little to live for. Very few people had sufficient food. But what the government gave them was opiates. And when they consumed those opiates, they became very placid. And that's exactly what happens to people that smoke marijuana. They sort of become very placid, you know. If not today, tomorrow. No big deal. I'll deal with it later. Now, can you imagine a state like Colorado or Washington where a lot of people are loaded and they're in key positions? I mean, that allows policemen to be stoned, doesn't it? Why wouldn't it? It's not illegal not to smoke dope. They're not saying when you can or can't smoke dope. They're not saying that you can't smoke dope if you're working in a position of law enforcement or if you're an airline pilot. They're not saying you can't do that. Anybody in those states can light up a joint. So people are going to be going to work loaded. I think it's just hilarious how screwed up this country is and how people that are in positions of power and control shouldn't be in positions of power and control. I think it's just really hilarious. But you know what? It really isn't funny. It's one step further down the sewer. Thank you, you folks in positions of power, you lawmakers in those states. You're completely out of your minds. And your accident rate and your suicide rate and your murder rate and your other rates will all increase significantly based on your idiotic policies.